Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming here. We're going to present you the work that is being done by the community on the next version of Traefik v4. First of all, let's introduce myself. I'm Emile Vauge, the creator of Traefik. I'm also the founder and CTO of Traefik Labs, the company behind the project.
And I'm Nicolas Mengin. I'm maintainer on Traefik, and I'm working at Traefik Labs too as head of development.
All right, let's start with explaining what is Traefik. So basically, it's a cloud-native and lightweight gateway to expose all your services. So this is something I started back in 2015, and I made the decision to create a new reverse proxy from scratch dedicated to the cloud-native and containers environment because they have very specific needs. So it has very advanced feature on traffic management, such as canary, rate limiting, this kind of stuff. Advanced feature on top of security, and also observability. And one of the key features of Traefik is that it has a very deep integration with dozens of tools in the cloud-native ecosystem. So basically, as a gateway, it sits at the edge of your infrastructure. It's directly connected and integrated to your orchestrator, whether it be Docker, Swarm, it can be Rancher, it can be HashiCorp Console or Nomad, and usually it will be Kubernetes. So it has a native integration with the Kubernetes orchestrator as an ingress controller or a gateway API controller. This project has been very successful since day one, and it has a very active community, very vibrant community, with more than 3 billion downloads, 55K stars on GitHub. It's in the top 10 downloaded project on Docker Hub. And the best thing is the number of contributors, which is more than 800. So it means that it's really something that is built with the community. And that's why it's being such a successful project. All right, so yeah, let's present you what we're going to do with Traefik v4. And first of all, let's do a quick history of the different versioning we have been doing with Traefik.
Yes, indeed. We will see. Let's do a retrospective of the previous major version, and after that, we'll see the future with you. So as Emile mentioned, we released the Traefik v1 10 years ago in 2015. So the objective of Traefik v1 was to provide you with a product that was production ready, with which was complete enough for you in terms of features, stable and robust to put it in your infrastructure. For this version, we have decided to be 100% driven by the community. I mean that all the features that were implemented were requested by the community and implemented by the community, and it's the same for the bugs. It was the community to raise them and fix them. When we released Traefik v1, it embedded some feature like the automatic reload that allows you to not restart Traefik each time you have a new container to expose. We had the support for many providers like Docker, Swarm, Kubernetes, Marathon, Rancher, and some KV store to install Traefik on bare metal. Some middleware to do actions on your route, like a rate limit, basic authentication, and another automatic way to generate a Let's Encrypt certificate. 4 years after the v1, we released Traefik v2. So with Traefik v2, we really wanted to provide a rich configuration, to provide features that were not possible in v1 because of architecture choices that were made. For this, to reach this goal, we changed the core concept. For instance, Traefik V1, they were backend and frontend. They were replaced with routers and services. It's not only renaming, but we changed internally everything to bring some new concept like server transport to fine-grained customize the connection between Traefik and your backend, and TLS certificate store and TLS options to manage your TLS certificate in Traefik. On top of that, Traefik V2 was not only level 7 ingress controller, but a level 4 ingress controller too. And to be Kubernetes first-class citizen, we inserted our own resources to expose your workload in Kubernetes to go beyond than the ingress specification. We'll talk about it later. So for this second version, we decided to follow the 17 versioning. So with 17 version, when you release a major version, you can bring breaking changes. So we decided to have no constraint on the breaking change, and we broke everything we need. We provided a migration tool to help the community to migrate from V1 to V2. This tool helped only on the install configuration. With this strategy, we have been able to provide a lot of new capabilities. So I talked about the resources in Kubernetes, the ingress route, TCP and UDP support, and other evaluated features. And it is the maintenance, because as we got rid of everything from V1, we just had to maintain the code base of V2, which was not simple, but simpler than having two versions together. However, the migration was a pain, and we had this feedback from a lot of users. And we know that I don't know what is this noise, but I guess there is an issue with my mic, maybe. Okay. Better? Yes. Yes, migration. Yes, it was very complex. We had a lot of feedback from the community, because even if we helped with the migration tool for the install configuration, all the routing configuration, I mean all the ingress annotation, all the Docker or Swarm label changed. And we know that some years after the end of Traefik V1, there were still people using it. Even if there were no any security fix, they preferred to stay with the V1 and then paying the price of moving in V2. We took this feedback into account when last year we released Traefik V3. We decided to go with a total different strategy. We needed a new major version because there were some features like OpenTelemetry or Gateway API that required breaking changes. It was not possible for us to continue with other V2 version. And we took advantage of this new major to delete some outdated features like Eureka support or Marathon. I don't know if it rings bell to you today because it's very old technology. But we really wanted to be backward compatible for the rest. So we decided to deprecate, to not break. First, we have brought no breaking change on the routing configuration. I mean that tomorrow, if you want to move from V2 to V3, you will be able to reuse the same ingress object, the same ingress route, or the same Docker label. It will work out of the box with V3. You will just have to inform Traefik in the install configuration that you want to keep the V2 configuration for this object. Concerning the install configuration, we brought minimal breaking changes, only when it was necessary. For instance, for OpenTelemetry, to bring the support of the tracing, it was not possible to keep the V2 and the V3 configuration together. For this reason, we deleted everything about tracing V2 in V3. But for each point that has been deleted, we provide a migration guide in our documentation. With this strategy, we were able to provide a smooth way to migrate from V2 to V3, and that led to a better adoption of V3. 1 year later, we can see that people have moved and still moving to V3. However, with the constraint of the by default backward compatibility on the routing configuration, we haven't been able to bring all the modification we wanted. We made some choices in V2, and we wanted to change, for instance, the way to manage the connection pool between Traefik and your backend, or the default value for the load balancing in Kubernetes. But as it impacted the routing configuration, we kept the same values as V2, and we are stuck with them in V3. On top of that, today it brings a lot of more complexity for the maintenance, because each time we have a fix, we have to check if it works for both V3 and V2. Let's now talk a bit about the future. So, as I said, we released the Traefik V3 last year, and we have already planned to go with Traefik V4 next year, for the end of 2026, only 2 years after the V3. For this version, the main objective is to provide deeper integration, better support for everything, every other tool we are integrated with, like a gateway API or open telemetry. And we want to ease the maintenance of the code base, but by getting rid of all the deprecation we inserted from V2 in V3. Strategy can be summed up in a few words. Do not wait to bring features. What do I mean? When we go back to V2, when we go back to V3, each time we tried to release a major version with a lot of new features, a lot of new capabilities. Now we have decided to bring the features on the V3 minor versions each time they are ready. If they need breaking changes, and if we can only deprecate some options in the configuration and maintain both during the V3, we will bring these features in the minor versions of V3. If we see that we have to be breaking to bring these features, we will wait, of course, for the V4. So where the migration path from V2 to V3 was in V3, the migration path from V3 to V4 will be in V3 too. But now let's dig deeper in the features we wanted to bring in V4, and first of them, a better support of Gateway API. So with Gateway API, you are at 100% in the Kubernetes world, because it's the next standard to expose services in Kubernetes. So let's do a bit of history about the way to expose resources in Kubernetes. Everything started with the ingress specification in 2015. Traefik V1 allowed you to expose such resources. So the premise of the ingress specification was to be simple and vendor neutral to expose application in HTTP or HTTPS with ingress controller like Traefik. But whereas the simplicity was supposed to be an advantage, it became a weakness. Because when you want to expose a resource, you just don't want to expose it, you want to do some operation on it. Secure it, or having a rate limit, or maybe, or other operation on the header, for instance. And it's not possible out of the box with the ingress specification, and you have to use annotations. But first, annotations are vendor neutral, so the premise is broken. And on top of that, annotations are not validated and not structured, so it's a nightmare to maintain. That's why in Traefik V2, we created our own resources, the ingress route, HTTP, TCP, UDP ingress route, to go beyond the ingress specification. With these resources, we have brought a way to a structured and validated way to expose resources and have made some operation on these resources. On top of that, we brought the support for TCP and UDP that wasn't possible with Ingress. And in V3, we started to bring the support for Gateway API. So as I said, it's the next standard to expose resources in Kubernetes. It will replace the Ingress. It's go beyond. Go beyond Ingress, of course, and it's still moving forward. There is a very active roadmap. So in a few words, what is a Gateway API? So Gateway API makes the assumption that in a Kubernetes cluster, there is not only one persona managing the cluster, but many. And they created an object for many objects for each persona. So we sum them up with ops and dev. And so with the Gateway API specification, you have first the Gateway class, which are more or less the same thing as the Ingress class. They will allow you to define the gateway controller to use to expose your resources. And the ops will define the gateway tool, which are the way to define the entry point on your infrastructure and define the protocol to support. On their end, the developer will have to define routes to reach their application. It can be HTTP route, or it can be TLS or UDP route, according to their need. On this route, they will be able to set what we call filters that are operation you can do on the request. So today, in Traefik v3.4, Traefik supports Gateway API v1.2. But in the next version of Traefik, v3.5, that will be released soon, we will bring the support for the latest version of Gateway API v1.3. And of course, we have planned to follow the evolution of Gateway API to support all the minor and future minor and major versions of this specification. On top of that, we bring the support for a few extended and experimental features of Gateway API, and we will continue to do it with the support of the mirroring person-based filter, the support of the X listener set that extend the gateway to give you more capabilities, and we will provide the mutual TLS per HTTP route support. Now let's talk a bit about observability. Observability, which is now a must-have in microservices infrastructure. And as I said, we have started supported open telemetry, so which is the new standard for everything around observability in V3, and we want to continue it in V4. So first, when I talk about observability, I talk about three topics: tracing, logs, and metrics. So for the tracing, it will allow you to monitor the performances of your infrastructure, to find if there are some bottlenecks, and to speed up the response time. To do so, you can use tools like Jaeger. So here we can see a screenshot of this tool, and we can see in blue what we call a trace, which is the period of time required for a request to pass through a piece of your infrastructure. Now the log, so the logs, everybody knows the logs to monitor the behavior of applications and to find the error. So now with open telemetry, you can use a tool like Loki to centralize all your log, and when you have an issue, everything is in this application. You don't have to use grep and grep a big number of files to find the error. And last but not least, the metrics. So with a tool like Traefik, when we talk about metrics, we mainly talk about monitoring the traffic to adapt the number of replica, for instance, of traffic you need according to the workload. And you can use a tool like Grafana, like Prometheus to display such metrics. So in V3, Traefik has brought the support of metrics, tracings, and logs at the open telemetry format. Concerning log, you can see that it's still experimental because it's still in beta in OpenTelemetry. And concerning the V4, we are working on it to bring a better user experience. We will provide a way to auto-detect the Kubernetes attributes to simplify the installation. We will provide a way to keep the logs in the standard output even if you export them in your OpenTelemetry collector. And we will support more metrics and more semantic conventions. This is it for observability, and now Emile will talk a bit about Nginx.
So yeah, maybe you are wondering about why we talk about Nginx in a Traefik talk. All right, so Nginx is one of the most used ingress controller in Kubernetes, along with Traefik probably. And basically, Ingress Nginx is a community-driven project, and basically it's a wrap-up, mostly in Go, on top of the Nginx binary, and it's to listen to kube and convert kube resources to Nginx config files on the fly. However, I don't know if you are aware, but back in March this year, we heard about the Ingress nightmare, and basically it was made public by the Wiz research team, and it was an extremely serious CVE revealed by Wiz, noted 9.8 out of 10 on the criticality, which is very serious, and they estimated that almost 40% of the cloud environment were vulnerable to it. So in short, it allowed unauthenticated admission controller flows. It allows attackers to inject malicious Nginx config using annotations, the famous annotation, and combined with a shared library upload. So that's a very complex attack. They were able to remote code execute something and eventually gain full control on the kube cluster. So it's not funny. And in March 25th, 2025, the exact same time, there was a maintainer statement from the maintainer of this project made public on GitHub on an issue. And basically they were, I quote, they said, hey, Ingress Nginx is a very flexible ingress controller. That's true. However, this flexibility brings security concerns for maintainer and cluster administrator. And there have been 8 significant CVEs and RCEs in Ingress Nginx. And on top of that, Gateway API is right around the corner, and they are not able to work on both and to maintain something that is hard to make secure. So they said they won't bring any new feature on this project. Plus, they will go officially in maintenance mode as soon as the replacement is ready. All right. So we have an issue, right? Because one of the most used ingress controller is going end of life and is hard to make secure. However, even if we find a replacement, migrating existing ingresses can be super painful, right? Because we have a lot of specific annotations, so it's very hard to migrate. The replacement they are talking about, which is in-gate, is going from scratch. And as of today, there are only 21 commits on the repo. So I guess it's far from being production ready. And as I said, Gateway API is right around the corner. So not only you want to be able to migrate your existing ingress resources, but you want to be able to be future-proof with Gateway API. So what if we could use another ingress controller as a drop-in Ingress Nginx replacement? And what if this controller was also Gateway API ready? And can Traefik be the one? So let's dig deeper because there are many challenges here. Security-wise, first of all, Traefik was born in a different era, like 10 years after Nginx, with a very different architecture, very specifically made for containers and cloud-native ecosystem. And the first thing is that it has no raw configuration templating mechanism. Basically, Traefik is just connecting to Cube, parses ingress resources, and create Go static struct. So there is no way to inject anything. There is no injection path from an attacker like you have in a templated config file. So that's very different. There's also a very minimal network surface area because we don't have any exposed component like an admission controller or this kind of stuff. We just read the Cube resources. So that's different too. And lastly, we don't have any dynamic library loading mechanism. Go is a statically linked, Traefik is a statically linked Go executable. And basically, the code that is run is already contained in the binary. You cannot run anything else. So that's very different security-wise. It does not mean that there is no security risk, of course. That's never the case. But the architecture is different. The adoption, Traefik has been widely adopted and battle-tested for many years. There is no need to create a community. The community is already here around the project. And gateway API-wise, Traefik has been an actor in this working group from the beginning. And it has a full implementation of the gateway API v1.2 and v1.3 soon. Regarding Nginx compatibility, that's where the biggest challenge is, because we have no compatibility with Nginx annotation. And there are more than 100 of them. So that's a big challenge to be fully compatible with Nginx ingress controller. However, we have been working on this issue and have been able to merge a few days ago a PR with creating an Nginx provider within Traefik, supporting the most used annotation. So that's very interesting because Traefik can now act as an ingress Nginx controller out of the box and reusing your existing ingress resources. Let's show you in a demo how this works. So here, we have an Nginx ingress with basic auth, SSL redirect, and TLS. Let's apply this ingress. We have Nginx deployed, and let's do a curl. And you can see that we hit the server, the backend server. Now, let's uninstall ingress Nginx. And, all right. And instead, let's install Traefik. So, OK, we test that it does not work anymore, which makes sense. And let's install Traefik instead. And if we curl, we see that we have a running Traefik instance. And if we do the curl again, magically it works. So it means that Traefik is able to parse your existing ingress resources with the specific ingress annotation and serve them out of the box. And it's just deploying a usual route within Traefik, as you can see in the Traefik dashboard. That's always the same thing, but it's just interpreting the ingress annotation and reuse that in Traefik. So that's a major step forward for Traefik. All right, I will move to the next one. Traefik is able to be a drop-in Nginx replacement. At least there is a foundation for that, and we can move forward with implementing new annotation in the future. It is secure by design. At least it has a safe architecture by design. It has already a wide adoption, and it's production proven. It is gateway API ready, So clearly, it's not possible to migrate from Ingress Nginx at no cost and still being future-proof and gateway API ready. All right. Let's talk about a different feature that has been asked by the community for quite some time, which is pre-routing. And let's show you an example to discuss this one. So basically here, what we want to do is have a 2-layer routing pipeline. In the first layer, what we want to do is do the authentication authorization and then set a specific header, a group header with a specific value. And then we want to move to a second layer routing where we reuse the group header value to choose which server we send the request to. Okay. All right, so that's a 2-layer routing mechanism. And today in Traefik, we have only 1 layer of routing mechanism. We have request go through entry point, then through router, which is the routing layer, and it applies some middleware, and then it goes through services. So what we want to do is add an additional pre-router layer, which will help us to do this use case. So in this use case, we would have a pre-router that would do the authentication, authorization, and set the group header, and then it would go through the router, which would choose using this header which service to send the request to. So that's something that has been asked by the community. It's not necessarily the most widely used case in Traefik, but still, this is something that is very useful in some situation. And finally, let's discuss about the plugins. So plugins, custom plugins, is probably one of the most asked and used feature in Traefik since the beginning. So as you can see in this issue from 2017, which has a lot of thumbs ups, clearly plugins is already a significant need. And at that time, we wanted to use the standard Go plugin mechanism, which was using side-loading external library. So I bootstrapped the first PR in March 2017, but it was not a success because of CGO issues. I retried in July a few months later, and same thing, we closed it because it was clearly, the plugins mechanism in Go was not ready and never was. So we made the decision to move forward and create our own Go interpreter instead. So it's not the simplest path, clearly, because it's not easy to create a Go interpreter, but it was a way to create convenient, it was convenient to create plugins with an interpreter. So we created Yagi, which was and is super successful, more than 7K stars on GitHub. It's the most complete interpreter in Go out there. And with that, we've been able to bring plugins in September 2020 in Traefik 2.3. This is very handy because it provides the ability to extend and create custom middlewares and create custom providers. So that's super useful. And this is, this can be distributed through a plugins catalogs, which parses GitHub repo with specific annotations and metadata. And we have hundreds of open source available plugins made by the community that you can use within Traefik. A bit later, and something that was not expecting, but late in the V3 development cycle process, some people in the community came with a magic PR, a magic pull request bringing WASM support to Traefik to create plugins. And that was really great. So we have been working hand in hand with these community members. And in a few weeks only, we were able to add an additional plugin engine based on WASM in Traefik. So since the V3, you have Yagi or WASM to create plugins. But we still want to improve this in the next V4. First of all, WASM, we want to make it better in the multi-threaded environment. We want to make it more performant because there are still some issues here. And additionally, we want to bring gRPC-based plugins. So this is something that has been asked by the community a lot. First of all, it's a true multi-lang solution. With gRPC, you can use any language and very easily. And there is already an HashiCorp Go plugins project, which is widely used and battle tested. And also, it would help us to be. If we could make it compatible with the Envoy Xproc extension, it would bring us the possibility to make it easier through the Gateway API inference extension that is being released right now. And they have an Xproc-based endpoint picker. So it would make our life easier. So it comes with pros and cons. First thing, child processes. Yes, if you every plugin would live in a child process. So that's a good thing security-wise because the isolation is better. However, that's not as simple. That's more complex to handle when you have multiple processes in the reverse proxy. And we don't know exactly how much it has some impact on the performance yet. So yeah. Let's see what else.
Yeah, so Emile talked about big feature like Nginx provider, like plugin, but we will provide other ones, maybe smaller announcement, but still. The first one is a new dashboard. So it will be released in the next minor version, v3.5. So now the dashboard is not written in Vue.js anymore, but in React. So if you are more a React developer, don't hesitate to contribute. And we are working on a notification center to allow us to inform you when there is a new version of Traefik, when there is a CVE to fix, for instance. Concerning the documentation, so it was one of the main improvements asked by the community. From the polls we have done, we knew that it was a kind of nightmare. If you want every information you need about Traefik is in the documentation. But if you don't know where is it, you cannot find it, to sum it up in a few words. So we have started tackling it 1 year ago. It has been a very long work, still in progress, but we will reach the goal soon. We hope to be able to have this new documentation early Q3 really done. So it will be split in two main categories. First one is 0 to hero to help beginners to install and starting exposing resources with Traefik and a full reference guide with every option for every middleware, every provider. On top of that, we want to bring more support, be more extended. So with the support of Knative, for instance, so Knative is a Kubernetes-based platform to deploy and manage a serverless workload. So it's a pull request that has been opened by an external contributor, and we are working with them to merge it. And the same for FastCGI. New pull request, because it's not the first try, a new pull request had been opened a few weeks ago, and so we have planned to tackle the review soon. So I talked about TLS revamp. It's still not sure because TLS is very complex. The way we manage it in Traefik is complex too, and there is no complex issue with a simple solution. So we are still analyzing. We have some ideas. We are unsure to be able to bring a new system, keeping the old one, the current one at least. So it would mean maybe waiting for the major if we cannot have deprecation. But so we are on it, studying it, but it's still not sure to have a good solution for the V4. And of course, we will provide more features, so stay tuned. Oops.
All right. So as you can see, there is still a lot of work to be done for V4, and all the intermediate release we are planning. So if you are interested to contribute to a Go project with a very welcoming and vibrant community, you are welcome. And what I want also to add is that we welcome all unexpected feature during this life cycle. As I said with WASM, we welcomed it while it was at the end of the process, but that's not an issue. We welcome all feature as soon as they come in. So yeah, please help the project be better if you can, if you want. Thanks a lot.
I don't know if we have time for questions.
Yeah, I don't know if we have time for questions. Maybe, yeah?
One question.
One question.
So if anybody has one question.
Any question?
Oh.
Yep. What? Yeah.
I don't know if this is specifically this is more V3, but if someone's developing something that new, is there a reason to go with Gateway API with sort of all those multiple resources versus an ingress route? Let's assume that there's a middleware that's needed.
So the question is, if you do something from scratch, should I go with Gateway API? And yes. I would, yes, because you almost do not miss anything from ingress. That's not entirely true. So maybe you will be stuck somewhere, but usually not.
But we keep the support of both ingress and ingress route too. We won't delete it. We continue to work on it too.
Yeah.